When you have your girls, you're never alone. You get together for coffee, maybe to work out, or just to laugh. We created Hey Girl just for you. Can't wait for you to join us.
Woo, cha. Woo. Okay, hold on.
Get yourself together. Get yourself together at that
Just give me a
workout.
minute. Hold on. Okay. I had to go get my Natalie Ray fan, girl. Had to go get my Natalie Ray fan.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
After that
Okay.
workout, after that
This is
workout, you
when you
needed it.
need the Natalie Ray fan on the case because it's hot up in here. Do you
Yes,
hear me?
yes. It was a good workout. It was a good workout.
Yes, Lord. Okay. All right.
You together?
Sorry.
You together? You
Okay.
know,
I'm getting it. I'm getting it
I think
together. Is my
you
hair okay?
powdered
Is
up.
my hair
It's
okay?
good. It's good.
All right.
It's good.
All
No
right.
shining. I think I powdered up pretty good.
Girl, yeah. You got to make sure that's okay. Sorry. Hello, everybody. Welcome back
Yes,
to
yes,
another episode of Hey Girl.
yes. Hey,
We
girl.
are back. What episode is this? Is this
Oh my
episode
goodness.
15?
15. 15. I
Oh
can't
my
believe it.
goodness. We are doing big things. Listen, if this is your first time, welcome. This is Hey Girl. I'm Kim with an E.
And I'm
Who are
Kim
you?
with an I.
Come on, girl. Are you tired? You got to be quicker than that.
Look, you got to give me a minute. After that, I'm trying to keep up.
You got to be quicker than that. Kim with an I. Kim with an I. So anyway, this is Hey Girl, and we're your girls. This
Yes.
is the safe space where we come together and we have a good time. And we just got through working out, so we're all a little crazy right now. But we come together to share our experiences, and this is where you can be affirmed. This is a
Yes.
conversation with your girlfriends because honestly, life can be overwhelming. And if you don't have your girlfriends, then how do you survive? Honestly,
Absolutely. Yeah.
we're here to let you know that you are not alone. And so
Absolutely.
I was very glad that I wasn't alone doing that workout because y'all,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the whole situation. Um, but this week we're changing the game. Obviously, we started the
Yes,
show a
we
little
are.
different. Trying to keep y'all on your feet. And we wanted to let you know that this show is completely different because we have a very special guest, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we
Very
do. So,
special.
with this wonderful workout we just completed, we have our good friend with us, a special guest, and she's here to talk to us about breaking all the rules as a pastor's wife. Not your typical pastor's wife, you know.
Definitely not.
Yes. And so, after that workout, I mean, hey, I can honestly say she's not your typical pastor's wife in the
No,
workout.
no, she's definitely
Yeah.
not. Shaking them
Yeah.
hips. Did you see her shaking them hips?
I saw her shaking those hips. Hey, you have to move. You can't be a stiff instructor. You
Scandal.
have to move.
Scandal. She
Yeah.
is
So
definitely
we
not.
yes, yes. So she is the Tanzy Chandler.
One and
So that
all.
we have with us today. Yes, and so she's going to
Yes.
talk with us today about changing the game. Yeah,
Yes,
and working
I'm
out.
excited to introduce you to our good friend, Tanzy Chandler. She is originally from Toronto, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
She is married to Pastor Damian Chandler, who pastors the Capital City Church in Sacramento, California.
Mm-hmm.
Together, they have three beautiful children,
Yes.
Zoe, Salem, and Levi. Tansy has a doctor of physical therapy degree.
Mm-hmm.
She is also a certified group fitness instructor, obviously. And she is the CEO of Revamp Fitness, where she shares her passion for health and wellness with her community.
Yes.
As she serves, she draws strength from Jeremiah 1:5, which says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." I love that.
Wow, I love that. Love
We're
that.
so excited to welcome to the show today our dear friend, Tansy Chandler. Hello, lady.
Yay!
Hey, Miss Tam.
Hello. Hey,
Yeah.
girl.
I'm
Welcome.
glad you guys like that workout.
Yes,
Like it?
yes.
What'd you say?
I said, I'm glad you guys like that workout.
Yes, girl. It was fun. As always.
As
Always fun.
always. Yes, yes. And I can't wait to get into this amazing story, inspiring story with you, Tanzy. So let's talk a little bit. Let's get into the conversation. Let's talk a little bit about your struggles before, the workouts and, the revamp fitness. What was your struggles with self-esteem? What kinds of fears and insecurities have you had to battle with?
And I know
My
people will be surprised to think, right? Like this girl doesn't have any insecurities.
Right, right,
no,
right.
So
you
let's
never
let's let's
know.
talk about the
Yeah,
Tansy before the Tansy we see now.
Yeah.
you never know what people are struggling with. You can never really
Mhm.
tell. And my insecurities, my challenge with low self esteem really is no different than most women.
Mhm.
Usually, as little girls, as we grow up, we start to become aware of body image. We start to become aware that there is a standard of what the
Mhm.
world considers beautiful or what the world considers fit. And then we naturally start to measure ourselves to that standard. And so we know that mainstream society does not always beautify every body type.
Mhm.
We decide that beauty looks a certain way, whether it's your hair or your skin tone or your shape. And so as I was growing up, I started to realize that there were some body types that were preferred by the mainstream than others. And that struggle
Mhm.
really became exemplified for me when I was in college. In college, I had a little bit of a so let me back up. In high school, I was always an athlete. I ran track. I played rugby. I did all these things. I was always active and fit. Being involved in sport really does improve a woman's or a girl's level of confidence.
Mhm.
When I got to college, though, I started to struggle with Sabbath issues. A lot of the sports that I played fell on the Sabbath, and I made the decision not to participate in those sports. And so that meant I lost my outlet of organized sport, right?
Mhm.
Naturally, when you go away to college, what happens? You experience the freshman 15.
Yeah.
You don't have the discipline to exercise on your own outside of a rugby coach or a track coach programming your workouts and telling you when to train.
Mhm.
Naturally, you start to gain weight. You start to become challenged in your self-esteem. That's when I first started to really experience my battle with depression.
Mhm.
And it just started to spiral from there. Shortly after that time, I got married and I jumped right into, marriage and ministry at the same time, but just with both feet. So you imagine
Wow.
from a time where you're just already insecure and
Mhm.
then moving into marriage into a field, that I later learned really just challenges you a little bit more. So the struggles that I had are really no different to the struggles that our daughters and our nieces and just women everywhere are experiencing. And I had to learn how to navigate those things over time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So how did being a pastor's wife make those struggles more magnified? So I know the certain expectations
Yeah,
of a pastor's wife. Can you talk a little bit about how that was a struggle for you as well?
absolutely. So
Mhm.
let me just back up a little bit and say that the expectations of being a pastor's wife are a little bit different to what I saw growing up as a young girl in a church, observing her pastor and his wife. And
Mhm.
where I grew up in my church, the pastor's wife was really expected to really just be at church. There wasn't really necessarily an obligatory leadership role that she had to take.
Mhm.
When my husband and I moved to the US, that changed. It's really the first time I heard the title First Lady. Like it's a title all by itself. And it's a position all by itself. And so when you step into that role, you realize that you have suddenly moved from the background to
Mm.
the foreground.
Mhm.
And all of your insecurities come with you, whether you're ready or not. And so there's this expectation that the pastor's wife is going to be a certain type of person. She's going to take
Mhm.
on certain roles. She's going to look a certain way. And I've actually had people, as my husband introduced me, this is earlier on in our ministry, would meet me and he would say, this is my wife, Tanzy. And people would really kind of, they would say, and I remember sometimes a woman would say, "Oh, I wasn't expecting you."
Oh,
In my head, this is before I found my voice. I'm
wow.
thinking, well, what's wrong, and what did you expect? And
Right.
I didn't, I
Right.
wasn't ready for that. And so being placed in that position now,
Mm.
already insecure, and now there are people who really project their expectations on you.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
struggle to find yourself, and so in our first year of ministry, I remember a conversation I had with, I'll say, a very well-meaning member. She approached me and she said, "So, Tansy, what do you do? Do you sing?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't sing." And she said, "Do you play the piano?" I said, "I don't play the piano." And I wasn't ready for the question. So she said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well," she's asking me about pastimes and hobbies. I said, "Well, I played rugby." And the look on her face, she was like, "What are we going to do with a rugby playing pastor?" And there's no rugby ministry in the church. You can't do that
Right.
on Sunday
Right.
morning, right? I was really just answering her question honestly. This is what I did. I was starting to really see, oh, this is a title and there's a responsibility and an expectation. And man, so far, I don't meet that expectation.
Mercy.
Wow.
And so the pressure was really starting to get heavy as we started our marriage and our ministry together. So it definitely just amplified the
Mercy.
insecurities that I had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my
Can I
goodness.
clarify something really quickly? When the woman before that said we weren't expecting you, like what was the implication? Like
Yeah.
what was
I
that?
wish I knew.
Okay, you don't
I wish
know.
I knew. I think, in my head, I've kind of run through that question in my head several times.
Yeah.
In my head, I
Yeah.
was thinking, well, is it because I don't look like, is it my
Right.
physique? Is it my body?
Right.
Is it my husband and I were so young at the time. We were
Yeah.
like 23,
Yeah.
24. So I
Mhm.
thought, well, maybe I just look younger than she
Right.
expected. He started out as a youth pastor, so we were with young people all the time.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
sometimes people thought I was one of the youth. So I thought maybe she was thinking, oh, I just thought you were one of the kids. I'm not really sure.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Uh,
But it just
where
added to your insecurity, I'm sure.
totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. So how have you managed with those struggles? I mean, can you share what you did well and maybe where you may have went wrong in those
Yeah.
situations
Yeah. I
Especially
can't.
early on. I
early
I would
on?
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Early on, I tried to fit the mold. I really
Yeah.
did. I
Mm,
tried to be the pastor's wife that people told me I should be. I
Mhm.
tried to, there were things that I enjoyed doing, like I sang in the choir. I've always sang in the choir growing up, right?
Mhm.
But I felt this pressure to take a lead. And so, I tried to sing a solo, that didn't go very well. I was
Mhm.
leading youth groups. I
Wow.
was at the church all the time with my husband because that's what was sort of expected. So
Yeah.
if he was at Bible study, then
Mhm.
I was running a youth Bible study. And if there was a need that needed to be met in the church because there wasn't enough volunteers, then I somehow took it upon myself to fill that need. So I'm wearing all these different hats, trying to be this type of person, getting up on stage and doing things that I really wasn't comfortable doing.
Right.
I'm
Right.
an introvert, right? I didn't know it at the time. I wasn't really comfortable being up front, but I felt like I had to make myself comfortable
Mhm.
being up front. And that just caused it kind of just, spirals where you
Yeah.
just don't know where to
yeah.
find yourself. You don't
Yeah.
know what shoes to fit. And I actually had a mentor tell me that I was not dressing appropriately for a first lady.
Whew.
And it felt like I
Mm.
was being attacked. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the time, my husband and I had moved far away from our support system. We were on the West Coast and I'm
Mhm.
from Toronto. And so there wasn't really a whole lot of people that we could lean on. We were trying to navigate this ministry thing on our own. And so one of the things that I don't think I did well, although it's part of my journey, so I don't necessarily regret
Mhm.
it, is trying to fit that mold.
Yeah.
I think that there are always going to be people who have expectations of you, but it's
Mhm.
not our responsibility to satisfy their expectations. We all have a calling. We all have a role. We all have a part to play. And as long
Absolutely.
as we are trying to fit other people's expectations, we are neglecting the God-given responsibility that we have, that God
Yeah.
is. There are some things that only Tansy can do because that's what God has ordained. But if I spin my wheels and waste my time doing what other people expect, then I am really neglecting my God assignment, my divine assignments, because I cannot do both. I can either be
Right.
me
Right.
or I can pretend to be somebody else, but I can't do
Mhm.
both at the same time. And so
Right.
um, that's what I would have maybe done a little bit differently, is not tried so hard to fit the mold.
Yeah.
Right.
And to any young person or any woman who's listening who feels the need to fit a role because of what other people expect, I would say to resist that need, step back and listen to what God is calling you to do before you feel pressured or give in to the pressure to be someone that you're not.
Yeah.
And that's so interesting that you would say. I can't even imagine how you felt, because basically you were like a person standing on the side watching this other person play these different parts that really
Mhm.
wasn't you. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
I mean that right
Yeah.
there alone will make you be depressed. You
Yeah.
know, send you into a, because you're not being yourself.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah,
And you
Filling
yeah,
a
can only
role.
do that. You can
filling a
only
role.
play the role so long. It's
Right.
exhausting.
Yeah.
You have to pretend when you have to act. It's tiring, and
Yeah.
eventually, you two things will happen. You will either lose yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and lose your identity, or you will just break under the pressure, or you'll decide,
Mm.
I'm just not playing this game anymore. I guess there's three things that you could do, right? I'm just not playing this game anymore. I'm gonna just find my own path, and so yeah, after a while it gets difficult. Nobody should fake the funk for too long.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
stick.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you kind of answered what was going to be my next question, which was what's the lesson? What would you advise others to do? I don't know if you want to add anything else to, how this lesson that you learned might help others.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that definitely taking a step back and thinking about who you are. So I talk a lot about personalities,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a big fan of this particular test. It's a 16 personalities test, which taught me so much about who I am. I would
mhm,
really suggest that people dive into some of their character traits, personality traits. There's basic things like being an
mhm,
introvert, being an extrovert, your
Mm-hmm.
your um, your love language, your temperament, all of those
Mm-hmm.
things give you clues as to how to place yourself in environments that help you to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
They give you clues as to why is it when I'm doing these various things, I feel uncomfortable, but when I do these other things, I feel at home.
Mm-hmm.
When you can figure out a little bit about who you are, it helps you not waste as much time sort of with trial and error. You can look at your environment, you can look at the options available to you and decide, I think that this environment might be better suited for me, or I think
mhm,
that this role might be better suited for me. For example, right now at my church, I am on the social media team for our church. It's a behind the scenes role, right?
mhm,
I can
Mm-hmm.
do it on my own pace. I don't have to get up on stage necessarily.
Right.
It was so much better than being a soloist. It was so much better for me. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a need that, especially today, it's a need that the church has. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
knowing that, man, I thrive better behind the scenes
Mm-hmm.
kind of helps me to see, well, hey, I can do this. I can do sound, or I can do media. I can do those
Right.
kinds of things, and I can
Yeah.
feel comfortable in my role. And I'm also serving my church community. So learn who
Absolutely.
you are. I encourage women to learn who you are, to help navigate some of these expectations, Kim.
Mm-hmm. And
That's
I
so
think too,
good.
by helping you do that, by having a supportive husband that
Yes.
could say, "Hey, you be you," and not
Yeah.
telling you, "Well, no, you gonna have to stay home, keep that dress down to them ankles," and
Yeah.
to fit that mold, but actually he's supportive of you, and that
So
makes a
Yeah.
difference as
supportive.
well, because there's so many, I'm sure, other pastors' wives or pastors, husbands that don't feel the same way. Doesn't give that same support.
And
Yeah.
I just want to give my husband a shout out because, yes, that is so important.
Mhm.
If I did not have his support and if he could not, give me room to be my authentic
Yes.
self. I could never be that person. And he's kind of an outside the box pastor as it is. So
Mhm.
we work well together in that sense where he's just like, whatever you want to do. There's no pressure to do anything. Wear what you want to wear, do what you want to do, be who you want to be. And I'm
Mhm.
grateful. And God has also blessed us, since our first few years in ministry, he's definitely blessed us with a church body that totally supports me. Like they feel embraced by me. I no longer have women or people in our congregation who are asking me when I'm going to sing a solo or ask me when I'm going to play the piano. They know Tanzy. They know what my
Yeah.
skill set is, and they're comfortable and they embrace that. And I'm so grateful because you're right. Not everybody has that experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
good. And
And
they're
so
so cute together. That the two of them are really fun.
exactly,
They're a perfect
exactly. You
pair.
complement each other.
They do.
Yeah, very well. And so not only are they asking you about other things like that, they're also asking you about fitness. Instead of
Yeah.
Yeah.
asking you about singing and all those other things you really, didn't want to do, but about your journey with fitness. So let's swing into that.
Yeah.
So, and I just have to say, how I got to know you was that we worked together, started working out together with John Howell.
Mhm.
And that's how I discovered, well, doggone, look at Tanzy
She's a beast.
Chandler, the beast. Yes. So that's how you kind of say, oh, she has blocks. She's not just, a little pastor's wife. She got her own thing going. So how did you get into fitness, and how did it become your ministry? And tell us about your revamp fitness, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
So like I mentioned before, I had been an athlete throughout high school.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of fell off the athlete wagon when I went to college.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while, you know how it is. We have children, our bodies change, our children become our world. Everything we
Yes.
revolves around them. They set our schedules. After I had Levi, my third child, we were in Huntsville, Alabama. And, you just get to this point where you're like, man, I don't recognize myself, not just physically, but also the character, the person. I feel like I've lost some of myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get back into training. So I started training with John Howell at A&M. And it was great to get back into intense exercise again. I started to sign up for 5Ks. I was running the, what is it called in Huntsville? The Cotton Row.
Cotton
Cotton
row.
row.
Yeah.
The Cotton Row, the 5K, that was my first ever 5K. I started to challenge my own perceptions of what I could and couldn't do. I had already always told myself I was a sprinter in track, right? So I'd always tell myself I could never be a distance runner. And so I never tried anything more than a 400 meter. And here, I'm like, I think I want to challenge even my own perceptions of myself. And so I ran a couple 5Ks, I ran a couple 10Ks. And then really and truly, Revamp Fitness was birthed out of a ministry that started at Madison Mission called Ready, Set, Move. And that started just by me sharing my testimony with other women. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
what I really want people to know. I didn't have to pretend to be anybody. All I had to do was be transparent enough with my own struggles. And then you start to realize, man, there's all kinds of women struggling with the same thing.
Right.
We come
Right.
together, and myself and the was it health and temperance leader at the church at the time was like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people who are struggling in this area and who
Yeah.
don't have gym memberships and don't have the time. Why don't we start this church, event? So we started this group fitness event at the church weekly. And we had Zumba and we had group fitness. And Kim, you were a trainer for this, right? We had personal trainers come in and lead the workouts. And it just
Mm-hmm.
started this community of people
Yeah.
working towards a common goal. And then my husband and we moved to California, and I wanted to continue that somehow. And so I felt like God was leading me to start Revamp Fitness, which was then my own personal ministry. And I just felt like, there are just so many women. I know what it feels like to be in a place where you feel like you're alone. And I
Yeah.
think the enemy wants us to continue to believe that we're alone, because when we feel
Yeah.
like we're alone, we're less likely to reach out. We're less likely to look for help. We feel more isolated. But it really just takes one or two brave people to raise their hand and say, no, you're not alone. I struggle
Yeah.
too. And then other people realize, oh, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to admit that you have depression.
Mm-hmm.
If the first lady can say that, this is a woman who's married to a pastor who says that she admittedly struggles with low self-esteem and depression. Well, if she can admit that, maybe it's okay for me to admit this. And so in my personal ministry with Revamp Fitness, really my goal is to invite women to join in this journey. We're working on improving our self-esteem, on removing our insecurities, on being as healthy as we can, on embracing our bodies. You know, beautiful and fit comes in so many different sizes. And I know that mainstream says that you have to be very petite in order to be healthy and fit. You know, it's okay to be curvy and strong and fit. You know, that's okay. And I want women to know that that's possible. So in my ministry, that's my goal. That's what I want people to do, is just to relate and to connect on that level and to know that they're not alone.
Right.
Yeah. And and you're so inspiring, and you're doing a great job with your ministry. I know the women that are moved by you physically and emotionally. I've seen it firsthand. So yeah, it's been, you're right. And you're absolutely right. It's because you're willing to be vulnerable and put yourself out there that women who have always thought they were alone are you know, able to see that they're not. And by virtue of your position as the pastor's wife, I think that makes it okay for them. You know, I think that, you know, God has allowed you to be in that position. And even though you're not the typical pastor's wife, you know, he's allowed you this journey and the struggles that you've had, and then put you in this position of prominence, even though you don't really want the visibility, right? You're the introvert, but he's like, no, but you're going to be visible enough that women can look to you and see that, you know, by virtue of that position, give them permission to be what they are. And that's what makes your ministry so powerful.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. I feel honored to hold that space, you know, and for the women who fall into a more traditional role as pastor's wife, I encourage, if they feel called in that position. Some people, you know, they're excellent vocalists and excellent, you know, pianists, and they play a great role that might be more traditional. And if they feel called to that, then that's wonderful, because that's needed in our church. They need to hold that space, and I feel humbled and honored to hold this space. And that women would feel comfortable. They inbox me, they text me about whatever it is for prayer, for suggestions. It's not easy to share that vulnerable side of you, and that anyone would choose to share that with me. I definitely feel honored and humbled. So I appreciate you saying that, Kim.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's true. It's true.
They need to know, you know, women need to know that pastors' wives come in all shapes and sizes, and they have all types of gifts and talents, and you demonstrate that. And so I think that's a beautiful gift that you have.
Amen.
And so I want to shift gears for a second. You know, we did all the serious stuff. That's very important. But you are also a pastor's wife. So of course, we know that you also sometimes are given a word from the Lord. And so I think it's only fitting that we every now and then also get a word from the pastor's wife, because sometimes he gives you a word. Is that true?
Sometimes he does. Sometimes he does.
You know, let's just get that word. Let's just get that word from the Lord that he's given to you, because sometimes we need that word that he's given you.
Amen.
We need to hear what that is. So Amanda, producer, would you just roll that clip? Let's hear what the Lord has given to the sister. We need to know.
Ladies, this morning our message will be brief. I began to feel discouraged when I realized that our country was going into another lockdown, as we were expecting the second wave of this coronavirus. And I became discouraged and overwhelmed, and I could hear the voice of God tell me not to be discouraged. And he asked me if I had faith and if I believed in him. And I said, yes, God, I have faith, and I believe that we will one day come out of this pandemic. Tanzy, if you have faith, I want you to sow a seed, an investment, to show me that you have faith and that you believe. And so I began to think about how I could prove to God that I believed in him and that I had faith and that I trusted him. And it came to me in a vision, the investment that I needed to make in order to show God that I believed that one day soon we would be worshiping together in a sanctuary. And so I went online and I made my investment. And I purchased a pair of shoes because I believe that one day I will wear these new pair of shoes in a sanctuary, not in a living room, but in a sanctuary. And I envisioned the whole outfit, ladies. Shin length, asymmetrical dress with geometric patterns and pops of color, God. I just feel in my heart like God is calling us to prove to him that we believe that one day we will come out of this investment, out of this pandemic, and this is the investment I chose to make. How much do you trust God? How much is your faith worth? It can be a pair of shoes. It can be a purse. It can be a new dress. Be creative, but spare nothing in investing in your faith. A mustard seed of faith goes a long way, but it's okay if it's the size of a grapefruit, ladies, or the size of a DSW box. That is okay. Show God that you believe in him. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. This is ministry for your soul. S-O-L-E, soul. As I was looking at my shoes, I began to feel guilty. And he reminded me that the enemy is like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour, that he will put seeds of doubt and guilt into our hearts. And he encouraged me not to feel guilty for my investment of faith. And then I started to think about Dave Ramsey's and how this did not fit in the budget. Maybe I should share my purchase with my husband. And God said to me that not everybody can see the vision at the time that is deposited. And so that helped me to absolve myself of my guilt. And so I proceeded to hide the shoes under the bed because I wasn't sure that my husband was ready to see. You see, these are hot. And although I may never be able to wear them outside of the house yet, I believe that one day I will be able to wear these shoes. You guys will see me. Make your investment of faith. Yes, babe? I'm just practicing.
That's a word from God, ladies.
Listen,
Yes.
Hallelujah.
I
Hallelujah.
Yes, I'm here for it.
Yes.
And I believe that mustard seed of faith goes along with that mustard dress. The mustard
girl.
dress, the mustard faith, and the mustard heel. I believe it all goes together.
All
It
goes together.
It all goes together.
Yes.
Divinely appointed and coordinated.
Yes.
I believe the Spirit is telling us that. I feel that.
I receive it. I receive it.
Spirit.
Yeah. So Tanzy, on top of
Girl.
you, just everything else, I discovered you are a comedian. You are. I have laughed so much at a couple of your videos, like in tears, on the floor, dying. Like I saw your video the first. I'm thinking, okay, she is in tears. It looked like you were crying. I'm thinking, Lord, let me tune in this video. And she brought out, I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Let me tell you guys something about that. I don't know where the comedian came from. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm as shocked as everybody else is. My husband is shocked and everything. But let me say this. As I became more free to be myself,
Yes.
she emerged.
Yes.
And it was almost effortless. And so really, I want that to be a testimony to women. Like, you don't know what other gifts you have hidden.
Yes.
You're here pretending to be all these people that you're not. Who knows what gifts you're squashing? And I can remember the season in my life when I was really like, all right, God, I'm done. Take all these negative emotions from me. And it was shortly after that one of those first videos came out. And I just feel like it's fruit of authenticity that I didn't even see coming. But I'm so glad it makes you guys laugh.
Oh, so funny.
Yes. Wow. That is a testimony.
Refreshing.
That's a word right there, Tanzy.
That is.
That's a word.
Yeah.
Because you just said it. You cannot be yourself or discover the things that God wants you to be if you're not being your true self. You can't be someone else and still ask for God to bring these things out of you. You got to be yourself.
You have. That's where it starts.
Yes, that's
what starts with authenticity, and then let God surprise you with whatever fruit is that.
That's a good word. That's a good word. Well, the last thing, this has been good. So the last question, I know we can talk about this. This is so good, but I want to ask the last question. What is the most important message that you believe you've been put on this earth to share?
Yeah, I think really what we just shared sort of sums it up. I want women to be themselves. I want women
Mm-hmm.
to be themselves, and that sometimes means digging deep into some of those areas, those painful areas of your life.
Yes.
You need to resolve those issues. A lot of times we've been through experiences that we try to tuck away, but we have to reveal those things in order to truly discover who we are. And there's a quote that circulates. I'm going to get the quote wrong slightly, but the gist of the quote is essentially, um, you should be the kind of woman that people feel comfortable being themselves around. So I,
Yes.
I don't want anybody to feel like they have to walk on eggshells when I walk
Mm,
in the room. I want people to relax and to just be who they are. I want
yes.
to be a safe space. So that's the message, is really just be you and work on discovering who that person is, because there's needs that this world has that God is wanting you to fulfill.
Mhm.
And we cannot waste our time trying to be what other people want us to be. We need to figure out what our divine assignments are. What are our divine appointments? And being authentic is a huge part of that. That's what I want to teach my children. That's what I want to teach
Mhm.
my friends, women who are listening. That's what I want them to know.
That's a great
Wow.
message. That's a
That's
very
wonderful.
important message.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
a great way to wrap it up.
I've enjoyed this. Thank you guys.
I have
Had a
Thank
too.
blast
you.
Thank
here. I had a
you.
lot of fun.
Yes,
It's
yes.
been a lot
This
of
is
fun.
awesome. This is what girlfriends do. We sit around and talk about good things like this, you know? So
Amen.
this is
Definitely.
And I want to
awesome.
encourage you guys, really. We prayed about it at the beginning, but this is so necessary. Really, I believe that this is part of your God assignment, because women need this. We're so disconnected,
Yeah.
and there's so many people that feel isolated. These kinds of conversations, I believe, are things that are filling in the gap and filling that need. So be encouraged. Keep doing it, with all of the hiccups and headaches that might come. And I know that you guys are busy. You have families of your own. So this sacrifice is worth it. And I value it and I appreciate it. So thank you.
Oh,
Well,
thank you,
thank you. We
Tansy.
appreciate that. Thank you for being here, for coming and taking the time out of your busy schedule,
Yes.
and keep doing what you're doing also, because we're
Yes.
blessed by you. That's for sure.
Amen. Thank you guys.
All right. Well, we're going to go to our scripture, and Philippians 4:13. Christ gives me strength to face anything. That's always a good one.
Mhm.
And Psalm 73:26, my body and mind may fail, but you are my strength and my choice forever. And Second
Mhm.
Corinthians 12:9 says, my power is strongest when you are weak. That's the Lord speaking
Yes.
to us. So we know that we can find our strength in Him.
Yes.
Amen.
Well, yes. So that's it for today, guys. And that is it for the month of July. Can you believe it? We are already through the month
Wow.
of July. And
Mhm.
that means we start a whole new month and a whole new theme
Yeah.
next week.
Mhm.
So be sure to join us. We are launching a whole new theme, which is all about taking care of you. I am really looking
Yes.
forward to
I
this
am.
next
I
month.
am.
It's all about taking care of us.
You have to. You have to.
You absolutely
In
have
order to take
to.
care of others, yeah, you have to take care of yourself.
Got to do it.
Yeah.
So next week we are excited to welcome Rochelle Gapere. She's going
Mhm.
to talk about happiness.
Yes.
First. That's our first topic. So it's going to be a good one. You
Mhm.
don't want to miss it.
No.
So be sure to tune in next week. Until next time, I'm Kim with an E.
And I'm Kim with an I.
Quicker, quicker, quicker.
I know. Kim with an I.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.